I'm Juan Davis, Chief Creative Officer at KCT and PBS SoCal, and I'm joined by the newsroom of KPCC and LAist on a daily reporter roundup. How is everyone today?
Well, thank you.
Let's start with you, Frank. There was a very contentious police commission meeting today. You were there, you took it all in. What happened?
Hundreds of people showed up to the online meeting. Almost all of those who spoke expressed anger over what they saw as the LAPD's heavy-handed approach to the protests over the death of George Floyd over the past few days. People denounced what looked to them like a very militarized police force, with some expressing their support for a campaign to shift funding from the LAPD to social services. Many called for the resignation of Police Chief Michael Moore. Also, because of his statement Monday that Floyd's death was on the hands of people who looted as much as it was on the hands of the police who killed him. Moore has since said the statement was terribly offensive.
Chava was out today in the region talking to people about how they feel about the police and the police response in this moment.
Yeah, I spent the day driving around LA talking to people, and what I found amongst everyone I spoke to is that there's just a general mistrust of law enforcement and a desire to see policing change across the nation. In Boyle Heights, Daniel Felix told me about having the police called on him for simply dropping off food for a friend in a wealthy neighborhood, and then in his neighborhood having to wait hours for police to respond. People we spoke to feel that what's happening now is long overdue. Roscoe Owens from Leimert Park, who lived through the 1992 riots, see the similarities that led to this moment and told us that he wants to see policing change. He would like to see community policing because right now the police don't feel like they want to be a part of the community. Everyone we spoke to hopes that this moment leads to something different.
Ryan has been covering the effect and the impact these protests are having on public transit around the region.
That's right. And there's some outreach actually building on a couple of fronts. The first one being that Metro actually completely suspended service on Saturday night. Initially, they were just going to do that within certain areas of downtown and the west side that were affected by protests and unrest. But they ended up expanding that to the entire county, which led to a lot of people being stranded and a lot of outrage directed to Metro for doing that and having all these people out without a way to get home or to work. The second layer of this was that Metro actually was used to transport people who'd been arrested by LAPD on their buses. And there was questioning about how does this process work? How does LAPD and public transit cooperate on this kind of an issue? And questions about was this a misuse of public transit? Those are some questions that some leaders and activists have for Metro, and they'll be basically sorted out in the next few weeks.
And finally today, Austin wrote a really moving personal essay called Black and Tired in This American Newsroom.
Yes, Adrian. Well, I came to KPCC about 5 years ago, and I really started working on conversations with Take Two, the show Take Two, which airs at 2, on things like race and policing. And this happened at a time when there were a lot of incidents involving police and people of color. We had the incidents with Philando Castile, we had Sandra Bland. After each one of these conversations, I tried to bring together members of our community here to talk about how things might change, to help people explain maybe how things got to the point where they are now, and from a historical context, then really where people need to go to maybe make things better. We brought in everything from tactical experts, historians, even Martin Luther King Jr.'s former speechwriter. But then there was something about this death in particular, the one that we have witnessed and that all the protests have been around, that really struck me in an interesting way because I kind of was one of those ideologues that came in thinking that maybe I could change the world for the better with the things that I create. And it was just very disheartening to see somebody who, honestly, people who look just like me, who are getting hurt and who are getting killed. And so I wrote this piece really about how I came to understand my race when I moved to a more inland part of the Southern California area, Rancho Cucamonga, and also just kind of went through my feelings and how I'm struggling a little bit to cover this sort of thing because they always say that, you shouldn't become part of the story, but it's hard to ignore it when you do look like the people in the story.
Such wise words, Austin. And it's so difficult sometimes to really find that balance. Thank you all at the KPCC and LAist newsroom. And thank you for tuning in. Stay healthy, be safe, take care of your neighbor, and we will see you tomorrow.